Welcome to Try Not to Overthink It. I'm RJ.
I'm Unique.
And I'm Khalil.
Every day, just like you, we find ourselves trying to make sense of this crazy thing that we call life. As peers in the healthcare profession, we find ourselves discussing and debating many different topics. After many heated debates, we decided to both expand upon these topics and give our viewpoints on them as licensed therapists and social workers. If this is your first time here, we'd like to thank you for checking us out and become part of the tribe and participate in the conversations. So today, we are going to talk about something very heavy today. We're going to talk about the increase of the number of school shootings that has been occurring at a very, very, very high rate. In the past decade alone, there have been over 200 school shootings, with at least, from the count that I was looking at, was at least almost 400 people have either lost their life or have been injured due to getting shot during the school shooting. In 2023 alone, there have been, hold on, let me pull up the numbers. There have been at least 19 school shootings and at least 8 in the month of March. I mean, some of those were like back to back. So you had a shooting happen on Monday, and then another one happened on Tuesday, and then another one happened on Wednesday. We live in a day and age where we did an episode about this previously a few months back regarding the normalization of violence. Where violence is becoming commonplace, where just as common as it is for you to walk outside to go collect your mail, there's a high probability that you are going to be the victim or witness some form of violence. Mm-hmm. It is very, very, very scary as a parent or as a person who has young people in their lives to send them off to school and potentially never see them alive again.
Right.
That is very scary as a parent, as a family member, or as anybody that has young people in your lives, to know that this may be the last time you have a conversation with them, or this may be the last time you hear them laugh. This may be the last time that you get to experience them alive, because they go off and then someone decides to do whatever they do, and then it becomes an active shooter situation in an environment where there shouldn't be an active shooter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I remember last year, we had 2 incidents at my daughter's school where I should take that back. It wasn't at the school, but if your kid goes to school in a district, if something happens like to a neighboring school, it shuts all of the schools down. Mm-hmm. And there was an incident where, for some reason, my husband and I decided to keep our daughter home. We were just like, oh, she's going to be home today. This is when they were still doing the hybrid school. And so we're like, she'll just do school online. And we got a call that said, school is on lockdown. Please do not try to come to the school. Please do not call the school. But that was it. That's all that they said. And so my husband was just like, had I gotten that call, I would have tried to be down at the school. And I was like, but you don't understand. You trying to get into that school causes more harm than good. He said, but that's my kid in there. I said, and I get that. I do, but being a healthcare professional and having been in lockdown situations, like, Roger Mel and I, we worked out on a lockdown facility hospital. When they say nobody can come in, they mean nobody can come in, because it's unsafe for for any movement to happen at all. And so he was just like, yeah, but no, I'm doing that. And so I was just like, thankfully she wasn't there, and we had to do that. And we talked to her about, we didn't have to talk to her about that time. And then there was a second time where I was standing in the pickup. I decided to go to the pickup line early to go and get her. So I was just chilling in the car, waiting in the pickup line. We heard 11 gunshots go off. I'm standing at her school and I hear 11 gunshots go off. I'm like, what the heck? You hear no police, no cop cars or anything go off. We get an alert from the principal. I can hear her call out the alert. School is on lockdown. We have 3 cars out here, send these 3 kids out. The rest of the school is on lockdown. And I asked her, I asked my daughter, I said, how were things in school? She's like, they just told us to put our heads down and to be really, really quiet. And it was scary. And I was just like, at the time she was 8. Mm-hmm. She did not have a lot of exposure with school because she started school during COVID. And so she started going to class, I think, her 2nd grade year. So trying to explain to a 7, 8-year-old, people get killed when they go to school.
Right.
It's terrifying. You're saying, okay, get down because we've heard gunshots, not on the other side of town. No, gunshots close enough where it's in your neighborhood. And then the scariest part about that was how long it took for the cops to arrive. I think it took like 20 minutes for the police to arrive just to see what was going on. And they're like, oh yeah, we circled the area. We didn't find anything. You have shots ring out from a school and you don't know nothing else was done about that. So it is very scary to send your kid to school with no knowledge of what's going on and then not be able to get information until it's all done.
Right.
The principal can't call you while they're in the middle of a lockdown and say, hey, this is just a precautionary lockdown. Don't panic. When it is an emergency, they have to do what they got to do, and you won't find out when you find out.
Yeah, I mean, like now it's gotten to the point to where I foresee schools starting to institute an active shooter drill, no different than they do a fire drill, a tornado drill,
I'm telling you,
or something.
My kid's school already does. They do it.
There's a couple schools that already have done that.
Yeah, I saw a teacher.
Go ahead.
She has a bulletproof wall. I was on Instagram the other day, and this is right before the most recent shooting. And she's like a second grade teacher. She like where her dry erase board is, she pulls it out and like it becomes this bulletproof wall. It's like goes all the way up to the ceiling, has a little door, and all her and the kids can fit in it. And so a lot of people were in the comments talking about like she just did that so calmly. I was like, because you have to practice. You don't wait till a fire to practice a fire drill.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You can't. You got to be prepared. I said, but that's the world that we live in now, where a second grade teacher has to say, not only am I in danger, but I got to protect 28, 30 something other people's investments.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
I got to protect them.
And
think
that's,
about it.
Go ahead.
Well, think about it. People who were around during the 40s, right? When there was always that threat of war, those kids had to do bomb drills constantly.
Yeah.
If you talk to older people in their 60s and 70s, they'll let you know we had to do these drills. We had to get underneath our desks. We had to prepare for bomb threats because after, World War II and everything going on in Hiroshima, those kids were trained. They were trained. And we're going to essentially have to do the same thing for our kids because you got a kid in school. It's so anxiety provoking. All you see on the news is they're shooting. And you're sitting there waiting to hear back. And like you said, how's the principal going to be calling 100 different parents, 200 different parents? It's impossible. So all you get is the news. That
probably has to be like the most nerve-wracking thing ever, to know that a shooting happened at your child's school and to be waiting to receive a call that your child is okay. Like I couldn't imagine having to sit there and just be waiting to get that call. Like I don't know what I would do in that time of just waiting to receive that call. But I mean, like we live in a day and age, and I've said this on previous episodes, we just don't value each other enough. No, we just don't value each other enough. I mean, there's so many things that, because even when you look at the numbers and you look at different people's explanations of why we are hurting each other, everyone's main crux of everyone's argument is safety. But the way that everyone is arguing about safety is different. Right. And I mean, for me, I look at a person like this, valuing. When I value you as a person, there's certain things I'm not going to say to you. There's certain things I'm not going to do to you. There's certain things that I will do for you because I value you as a human being. If I see that you're struggling, I'm going to stop and I'm going to help you. If I see that, as a man, if I see, say, Unique walking up, I'm going to hold the door for Unique. If we're out somewhere and Unique has to stop and pump gas, I'm going to pump the gas as the man. Like those are things, because I value her as a person, those are things that I'm willing to do. And when you look at the things like violence, like we have gotten to a point to where not only do we just have accepted violence as just a normal part of life now. Mm-hmm. It's not even startling or rare anymore. It's just become a natural part of life of a person being here today and then they're not here tomorrow. And
I mean, I think a lot of the conversation around this will be, well, we need to have stricter gun laws. You know, we need to police who's able to get these weapons.
Right.
I mean, I'm gonna just say it. I don't think that that's the case. And I am not some gun-toting NRA membership having person. I don't own any guns currently. I've never owned a firearm. Shot them, you know, legally, but I've never owned my own. I think it just draws a line to what you're saying. It has to be a level of care there that says, I care about the next person.
Yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Security, and if security not in the sense of a police officer at the school, but I care enough where there's going to be a double layer to get into my kid's school. I'm going to fight for that. I'm going to advocate for that. Nobody just walks into a school building. At all times, the doors are locked. From the hours when them babies are in, lock the doors.
Yeah. Well, just like in the Nashville one, they shot through, the doors were locked. They shot through the doors, that's what was crazy, seeing that like huge automatic rifle come up there and they just start shooting down the door. You like, man, she had a mission.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm also like Unique. I have used firearms, but I don't even own a firearm. And I can tell you that because we did an episode about accountability. You know, we got to start taking some ownership for our actions, for the decisions that we make and the things that we execute based off the decisions that we make. You know, for me, I personally don't think that guns are the problem. I don't think taking guns away or, you know, doing this, doing that, that only puts a Band-Aid on the bigger problem. Mm-hmm. Because when you look at, like, both Unique and I have worked in outpatient substance abuse.
Yep.
Drugs are very illegal. Yep. Now, some states have kind of relaxed certain laws on drugs, but drugs are very illegal. We both worked at a methadone clinic. And you would think by the number of people that were lined up for services at 5 o'clock in the morning, you would think that that these people are waiting in the line to be raptured into heaven. That's how many people would be out there. Right? So making something illegal, making something, putting restrictions on things, I don't think that is going to solve the problem long term because, accessibility has nothing to do with legality.
Yeah.
Those are not mutually exclusive or mutually exclusive terms. So it is one of those things where, as human beings, we have got to the point to where things that you see on television, things that you see in movies, things that you hear in music, things that you read, desensitize you to violence, and
is violence really even the conversation? I think the conversation is teaching people just how to value someone else, right? Yeah. Just because I don't agree with you does not make you a bad person. Mm-hmm. Just because you wrong me does not give me permission to get out of line with you. Mm-hmm. I think this is something I teach my kid all the time. She's like, Mama, because they're just mean to me. I said, were they mean to you or were they saying something you didn't like?
Yeah.
There's a difference between somebody going out of their way to be nasty to you and somebody saying something that you don't agree with.
Right.
And even if they went out of their way to be nasty to you, that's their God-given right. It's a horrible choice, but that's their God-given right to be nasty to you. Now you have a God-given obligation to say, you know what, I either am going to allow this to ruin my day or allow this to be an opportunity to say, you know what, maybe that person's having a bad day.
Right.
Maybe I need to stay away from that person. Maybe I just need to figure out a different way to go because me and that person don't see eye to eye, and so I'm not going to engage with that person in that way. But never is the obligation because you hurt me. Now I have all right and license to then hurt you.
Right. Well, that's where I'm at with the Second Amendment, because we have a right to bear arms, we have a right to protect ourselves, right? But we don't have a right to go on a shooting spree because, like Unique said, someone said something we didn't like. Somebody might have
hurt your feelings,
or somebody hurt your feelings, or revenge, or whatever the case is. Because that means we don't believe in our justice system. We believe in our own justice, and if everybody believed in their own justice, half the world would not be around because everybody would have been murdered, right?
There's certain population in this great America that does believe in that.
Right, and there is.
I'm gonna mind my business though.
And that's where the confusion, because hey, yes, you have a right to protect yourself, especially this isn't back in the day where people were living in rural areas and people were trapped and they needed to hunt for food. They were trapping for their food and hunting for their food. Yeah, of course you needed arms, right? How are you going to kill stuff unless you were good with a bow and arrow? But most people needed the right to bear arms to protect themselves in those rural areas. Well, now look, we have our infrastructure has changed. We have all these major cities. All right. Tell me now where this comes into play that, yeah, you have a right to bear arms, but do you have a right to create your own legal and justice system? And do you have a right to go out and harm other people? And that's where I think the justice system has allowed that that line to be blurred. Well, you know what? That person, they have a right to bear arms, but they have several charges pending. We had a guy recently here in Huntsville, had like 2 charges pending already for firearms, assault, and this and that. Well, why is he still around allowed to run around and brandish a weapon? What is he protecting at this point?
And see, I don't know that the laws are skewed. I think it's the enforcement of the laws are skewed. We say, okay, guns are the problem. No, people are. The people who are selling them, the people who are enforcing the rules and usage of these things, the people who do not practice safe usage of a gun. A gun is a resource,
or safe storage of a firearm.
Safe storage. I just heard about a baby killing their big sister. I just heard about that.
Right.
Like a toddler killed their grade school age sibling. Right? Because the gun wasn't stored properly. Again, those babies aren't the problem. That gun didn't do what it wasn't designed to do. Rajamal and I were talking last night how he's like, a gun does not fire without a person. He's like, well, a gun can fall and the safety goes off. Why? Because a person didn't put that gun where it's supposed to be. A person didn't lock it up. A person loaded those bullets into the chamber. A person stopped that magazine clip. A person did it.
Right.
A gun is never going to do anything by itself. It is a inanimate object.
Right.
It is no more dangerous than a knife. It is no more dangerous than my water bottle, my glasses, an ink pen. It is just as harmless as any of those things. But it becomes dangerous, just like all those things that I listed, with the force of a human.
Right.
If I am being chased by an animal and I swing my metal water bottle at that thing, maybe I can do some damage.
Yeah.
If I take my eyeglass arms and I poke them in the eyes of somebody who's trying to attack me, I can do some damage. If I take a pencil and I jab it into someone, I can do some damage. I can do the same amount of damage, maybe not kill them, but I can inflict harm on them just like a gun could. But it's not the object. It is the person.
And the intent behind it.
And it's the intent behind it. So when we talk about guns in schools, I think the bigger issue is because we like to dance around people and, oh, well, this one needed help. This one was the criminal. The reality is to take a person's life without if you're not in like a war setting, because there are rules to war and all of us have our freedoms because of war. So whatever your thoughts are, please keep them to your dinner tables.
Right.
Do not add us on this. Right. Because all of our freedoms, no matter what color you are, it's because people fought and died for said freedoms in war. So let's not go there. But I'm not talking about war and guns. I'm talking about innocent people who go with the intent to go to school and they don't make it home, whether it's the elementary school.
They're in a civilian setting.
In a civilian setting. They're in a place where guns are not even allowed.
Right.
On the premises.
On the premises.
Yeah, most businesses
A mile radius.
on premises.
You're not allowed to have that there.
It's in front of Walmart.
Someone comes and prays, because at that point, I don't care what your mental health status is, you are preying on that population when you have the intent, I'm going to inflict harm on them. You're preying on them because they're weak and vulnerable. And so you were well enough to think to do it, and so be well enough to take the consequences of said action.
Right.
I mean, and that's what kind of like weighs on me, is the fact that for, you know, like, because everyone says that we got to do better, but doing better is not enough. You have to think better. You have to think better. You got to, you know, just operate better. I mean, like, we just, like, for me, again, like, it always goes back to the valuing of another human being. You know, because I value another human being, there's certain things I'm not going to do. There's certain things I'm not going to say. There's ways I'm not going to move, you know, and it bothers me that going to church, you lose your life, because that was a shooting. People were at church worshiping and they lost their lives. Yeah. You know, even at work, like, I have to tell my coworkers all the time, don't you prop that door open.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, well, no.
Smoke and walk your tail around to the front.
Yeah, walk around. We're not propping. There's a reason there's a lock on the door. You got to have a badge to get on this hallway. Mm-hmm. You're not propping that door open. I'm sorry, you just not. You know, because at the end of the day, like, it gets to the point to where now you have to be mindful of where you're at and what's going on around you at all times. You have to have situational awareness, and you shouldn't have. And you should not have to. We're not wild animals where we're just living to survive to the next day. And that's what life is slowly becoming in society, where you could be having the time of your life 1 minute, the next minute you're gone.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's crazy to me. That is crazy to me. And a lot of times it's over stuff that's not even that deep. Like when we talked about
but it has nothing to do with the person who ends up getting harmed or killed.
Exactly. We want to protest and we want to rally. There is no quantifiable amount that you could put on the life of a person.
None.
The memories that come along with that person.
None.
You know, everybody's life has worth and everyone's life has value. And the way that we're moving right now, I mean, it's just it just blows my mind in the way that we handle each other, the way that we treat each other.
We want to talk about doing better in our communities, but doing better, and I'm getting in everybody's business, but doing better means going to the polls during midterm elections and voting for officials who can actually put change in our community. Right. It means funding your local Boys and Girls Club, right? Volunteering there. It means making sure that your schools and your communities, they do have what they need. Getting the Board of Education, though that's a voted position, right? You have control over who makes decisions for your babies. You vote that in each year. You vote in the person who determines who goes to jail and who doesn't, who hires other judges. You vote that in. You vote in police commissioners. You vote in all of these people. You vote to say if we have adequate mental health services, but we don't like to talk about that. We like to just say we need to do something better. We need to fix the outlier, because the outlier is the problem. No, the problem is no one wants to take accountability for the part that they play.
Or even with that, if you want to dismantle certain mechanisms that have already been put into place, what do you have to replace those mechanisms?
What do you have?
When people talk about, you hear people talk about defunding the police. We talk about that. Yes, I agree with some things that people have said in regards to, you know, certain programs that should, you know, where the money should be going. But my thing is this right here. What programs would you institute in the place of the police that you were defunding? Right. What programs?
Listen, when I worked in substance abuse, residential substance abuse, right? The police were my advocates. The reason being, if I have a person who's coming down off of any illicit substance, and I'm not just talking about like marijuana, you coming down off of fentanyl and
Hardcore
opiates,
stuff.
hardcore drugs, you get a little belligerent.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to be accountable that I have a family to go home to. I have an office of people that depend on me to make wise, sound decisions. And so if I have somebody who I had gang members in my program where I would literally have boys that say, Miss Unique, if you put me over the east side of town, I'm not gonna be okay.
Right.
And they're gonna come and shoot up this house. So you bet your bottom dollar, I got the boys on my side. Hey, I got a situation. And I'm not saying nothing's about to happen, but if something do, I just need you to park a car there.
Right.
Just run my block till I can move this person. Just let me, I have a situation arising. I just need you to circle the block a couple times. We've had our bricks thrown into windows. And I'm responsible for those people at the end of the day. I'm accountable for those lives. I'm accountable if my house gets shot up as, I was a boss. So I was accountable for that. You can't tell me, so who am I going to call? A civilian to say, hey, come and police this neighborhood.
Stand out in front.
I'm going to call the person who's signed their name on the dotted line to say, I will stand in the line of fire to protect and to serve.
Right.
Do they get it right? No. But I think the programs, instead of defunding the police, let's fund programs to teach the police how to adequately protect and serve.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Increase the resources to help the community.
Yeah.
The funniest thing that, that really, it's not really funny. It actually hurts me because as clinicians, we see people who are unwell. We see people who are struggling with substances. We see people who have trauma. And we see people who, have a hard time really operating in life, right? They're depressed or whatever it is. So when we meet these people, we have to go through all these assessments to really find out if they're mentally well to be able to be out in society, be able to be someone who we don't have to lock up in a hospital because you never know what they're going to do that day, or are they a danger to themselves and others. And by doing this and actually living this life and working in this field, then I see someone go out there and claim that, not guilty by reason of insanity, or, I was stressed out. That's why I shot all these people. And I start to see that. And we talk about, you make a conscious decision when you grab whatever weapon that is and you start killing people. You are not, at that time, you're making a decision, and it might be irrational, but just like many of us, we make some bad decisions, but we're still thinking sane. You know what I mean? And that line of sanity, when I'm actually talking to someone, I've seen people who are insane. And guess what? They're usually not able
to shooting nobody up.
They're not shooting people. They're not able to take care of it. They're having psychosis. They're having visual hallucinations. They're scared of themselves. Some of them are still rational enough to know, I can't be around my family right now because I'm hearing stuff. I need to be in a hospital, in a facility.
Each of us have been around people who have had severe mental illness.
Right.
The one that people would think is, this is who shoots this person up. Like, this is the profile of a person who shoots up a school. All of our severe mentally ill clients, that's not them. Severe mental ill client is a client who's walking down the street in 70-degree weather with a bubble coat on.
With a bubble too.
Right. And a toboggan. And see, that's what bothers me about and this isn't, what we're saying is not to make light of anybody's mental health issues or mental health ailments or them being in distress. But what happens is there is a narrative that is pushed that people who are mentally ill are dangerous and that you should be afraid of them.
Right.
And so I, in good conscience, cannot sit here and allow that narrative to continue to be one that is fed into because because as Unique and Khalil have explained, a lot of our clients do not function at that level to where they can execute, have a plan, have a detailed plan, and all these different things. They, and that's why
they're in our care.
Right. Exactly. That's why they're sitting here. That's why they're sitting here.
They take their medication every day.
That's why they're sitting here in front of us. And so for me, it kind of goes into like what I was saying earlier about, doing a whole lot of things better. It can't just be we got to do better. What does that look like? Because in some of these instances, with these individuals who decided to do whatever they did on that particular day, what blows my mind is the fact that you're living in the house with someone or someone's, and no one caught that.
Right.
There have been times for me as a therapist, and this is where, for me as my parents, I have to give them, their flowers in this regard, because like when I was a child, I used to think they were crazy. I used to think I swore my parents was crazy because they would just be in your business all the time. Who's that? Where are you going
today?
Who you on the phone with?
Still like that.
But
I still want to know where I'm going.
But the thing about that though was my parents knew me.
They knew.
There are times where I am sitting as a therapist, sitting down with somebody, and the first time that you hear that your child has done drugs is when they're sitting down having a conversation with me. The first time that you find out that your daughter doesn't like boys and she likes girls is when they're sitting down talking to me. The first time that you find out that your child is sexually active is when they're sitting down talking to me. The first time that you find out that your kid, somebody touched your kid or, assaulted your kid in an inappropriate way is when you're sitting down and we're all sitting in the office together. And I'm asking these questions, and your kid is providing me with these answers, and you're just looking shocked. How you live in the house with them?
Yeah. I'm in business. I'm in it.
And so what I had to realize was that for a lot of us now in today's day and age, in today's society, like things have shifted from where parents actively and consciously and consistently were raising you.
Right.
Now your tablet's raising you,
TV.
your phone, your TV, your phone, TikTok, media. Instagram, YouTube, like that's who's raising children. And so unless you specifically go in there and set up the settings appropriately for the content to be age restricted, the internet is a vast and very large place. And you can find everything on the internet.
Everything there.
And so there, the things that you do not put into your child, because everything starts at home. The things that you do not put into your child, somebody else or something else will. And so when you don't put that time in with your kid, you will not have control over what is put into your kid.
Yeah.
So when you can watch music videos of people getting killed or hear lyrics of people talking about killing each other, you start to think that that's okay.
Right.
Or you have a friend who convinces you that this is a horrible thing. I need to rally up with me on this. I think about the boys who shot up Columbine. I think that was the most notarized school shooting to date. And the mom, I went to a powerful workshop, and the mom was talking about how people were like, "You raised a killer," and she said, "But I didn't. I didn't raise a killer. I was talking to my child. I was in his business." And she said, "But what I was not aware of was that the influence that my kid had every single day." This boy had journals. He had guns. He had ammunition. She said, "My son didn't get the gun from my house." Right. She said, I wish that was the case, because then I would have had more control over the situation. I would have had more control over the narrative." She said, "But I sent my innocent baby that I raised, that I took to church every week, that I had hard conversations with, that boy did not feel that he could have told me, 'Mom, I have this friend who is struggling,' who he went to school with every day. I'm in my kid's business. Well, who like who?" Right. And what they say back, "Well, okay, how were they acting at school today? I've never heard you mention this person. Who is this person? When did they get to the school? Who are their parents? What school they coming from? What you mean they was mean to you? What did they say?"
Right.
My kid got pulled up at school and they searched my daughter's bag. And I told my child, nobody searches anything until I get there.
Right.
Don't let it happen again. And she was like, "Well, Mommy, they said I had to." And I say, "And you tell them you can do it with my mother. You can do it when my mother or my father gets here. Nobody has the right to do, say, or make you feel any way without your permission, and because you're a child, without my permission."
Right. You're a minor.
When you get like 15, 16, then you can say, "Mommy, I made a decision for us." And I might be okay with that. But when you're 9, you don't get the decision of who's influencing you.
Well,
you don't.
Right now, we're going to see more of what your daughter has experienced. I think they're going to be searching kids. They're going to be stopping them. They're going to be going through, lockers and all those other things. I think it's going to get way more strict because of what's happening.
And it has to be. There's no way that it can't. I mean, I remember going to my niece's. It was an event at my niece's school, and it was during the day. And my sister was in class, so she couldn't go, so she asked me to go. And so I just walked in.
Random.
I just walked. I parked my car. I walked in. And nobody stopped me. I just looked. I saw other people walking in direction. I just walked in the direction they were going, and I looked for signs on the wall. That's pretty much all I did. Nobody stopped me. Nobody did anything. And I told my sister, that's a problem.
It is.
That's a problem because she goes to private school. I said, you're paying private school tuition for me as a rando person to walk in off the street. Nope, not one person stopped me. Not one person stopped me.
Do you know where you're going? Who are you here for?
There was no check. There was no check-in process or nothing. It was just you. As long as you look like you belong here, ain't nobody stopped. Nobody stopped me. And I mean, the thing about that is that's dangerous because I remember being in school. That didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen. Like we all wore a badge. If you ain't got no badge, who are you? What are you doing here?
Right.
And the police are going to escort you off campus. It wasn't no, you just walk off the street on the campus, and that's the thing. Like it's gotten to the point to where now you got to be more vigilant because you never know what someone else is going through. You never know what they're experiencing. You never know what they're thinking. And so, for me now, when I go out, I mean, I was before, but even more so now, where I'm paying attention to what's going on around me at all times.
Have to.
I got to see how far I am from the door.
Yep.
If I go
not to it.
Exactly. I'm trying, I see somebody getting loud. Hey, yeah, it's time for me to go. When I start hearing somebody start getting loud, it's time for me to go.
I was in Publix and that happened. I'm checking out and it's a commotion. And I said, I said, oh, okay, it's time to go ahead and get this stuff in there. So as I was going out, I saw the police coming in. I said, I live in the South. No, because everybody in the South got a gun for the most part. You can bet your bottom dollar people are carrying, and it ain't a secret.
You may not see it, but somebody probably has a piece on them.
I'm out.
And look,
okay, the boy in sweatpants, he got a piece. The man in a business suit, he got a piece. And when the bullets start to fly, I don't want to be there to catch it because bullets don't have a name, baby. I'm not gonna be there.
Well, I want to speak to what Unique was talking about earlier about the lady whose child was in the Columbine. I think people forget the psychology of it is, as children grow up, their parents are really the center of their focus and the center of what's going on, and they have a lot of influence on the kids. But once they get to school, by the time they're 6, 7, and 8,
a high schooler.
Yeah, and so over time, their friends become the center of their focus, of their universe. They are where they get the most information from. And that's when you get the people pleasing, and you get
absolutely
the social anxieties, and you want to be a part of this particular clique. And when you put somebody in those situations at 13, 14, and 15,
whose frontal lobe is not developed,
right?
The thing that helps you make decisions is not developed fully.
They can't think rationally. If I'm feeding them this, hey man, you know what? All these people deserve to die.
They're against us.
They're against us. It's just me and you. There's so many people. I mean, that's how a lot of gangs. That's how a lot of little, whatever you call them. I can't even really describe it right now because they're not really gangs, but those different type of clubs, programs. Yeah, they get together with each other. Well, that's how. And it's really dividing. It's that group think. We are all together. Everybody's against us. We need to do this. Next thing you know, they're shooting up a school. It makes a lot of sense.
Khalil, I just had a child tell my 9-year-old, if I don't talk to you, my kid goes to a private school, right? So it's a smaller population. If I don't talk to you, no one in the whole school will. This same child told the teacher that my child had did something that was grossly offensive towards her. My child got sat down. And the little girl says, I knew the teacher would believe me over you, and I'm going to start telling more lies on you so that you can get in trouble. Imagine that type, and for weeks before I found out about the little girl's first message of, I'm going to, if I stop talking to you, nobody's going to deal with you, and I'm going to get you expelled. That was the whole thing. My kid was afraid, and I would keep asking her every day. I asked my kid, how was school? What did you do today? Who did you play with? Would y'all play on the playground? I ask these questions. Right. She gets tired of it. She thinks I'm a weirdo, but I ask because I want to know. Mm-hmm. When it finally came out, I was like, is that why you were doing X? She says, yes. I said, is that why you were afraid to say something? She said, because she said she's going to get me kicked out of the school. Right. My kid is an immigrant. She's new to this country, and she was just like, I'm afraid of getting kicked out of the school. I don't want you guys to be disappointed in me. I said, baby, I ain't afraid of nobody that got two legs. I don't care how big they are, how small they are. I'm not afraid of them. And because I'm your mama and because your daddy crazy too, you don't got to be afraid either. Right. Your response to anybody is that might be true. You might can get me kicked out, but my mommy and daddy going to be up here. Right. They're going to find out today. They're going to come to get me. Right. Matter of fact. And you better have a good excuse why I'm not going to be here. Right. You better have a good excuse for that. Because just like they're going to be on my behind, baby, if they find out it's not my fault, they come in for you. Right. And I'm not that parent who argues with other adults in front of my child because I think that's disrespectful. But I want my kid to have 100% confidence to tell me everything. And no, I'm going to go to bat for that. Right. I was in high school like any other high schooler, but I knew my parents, hell, I was in college and a girl was getting on my nerves. I had a college roommate. My dad, the pastor, said, "What you afraid to handle your business?" I said, "No." He said, "Handle your business. I had a van parked out there to get your stuff if they decide to expel you." I didn't have this fear of, oh, I can't tell my parents I'm having this difficulty. I didn't feel like I was being a snitch because I told my parents what was going on in my life. My dad did not jump in. He did not ask to talk to the girl. He did not try to come up there and embarrass me. He said, you handle your business, whatever that needs to look like. Right. You handle your business, and I'm going to be out there ready if it get a little too hot. And I think we have to have that. We have to be extra intentional about being our children's best advocate. Right. Mm-hmm. Yes, we want to raise them up to be outstanding citizens, but more important than that, I teach my kid, you are a part of a community. This one, this is your first community right here in this house. And there are certain things we do and we don't do in our community. We don't keep secrets from each other. Now, will I tell you everything as a kid? No, because that's irresponsible on me. But as you grow, as you mature, I will share more things with you. But your responsibility and your role in our family, we are the protectors of you. And in order to protect you, I can't protect what I don't know. I can't give you what you don't ask for. You have to let me know, Mommy, it's not enough. Mommy, that hurt my feelings. Mommy, somebody said something to me at school I didn't like. I said, tell me everything. Let me be the judge of what it was. Let me tell you, okay, yeah, I don't know, baby. I can see that you're hurt, but throwing a rock at them might not be the best option. You know, that might not be the best way to handle this situation.
I mean, so for you, what you've cultivated is a type of environment where she can feel comfortable talking to you about anything. Right. Mm-hmm. And that is the type of environment in which children need in order to be able to thrive. Because if you'll do that as a child, you'll do that as an adult. Yeah. Versus suffering in silence or versus suffering in silence or repressing everything or just snapping off on someone. And I think that for this particular situation in regards to just the number, I mean, it is, like I said, it is getting exceedingly ridiculous. Like I said, in the past decade alone, there have been over 200 school shootings. And some of those, if not all of them, probably could have stopped way before it got to that point.
Yeah.
I think, as a matter of fact, correction, I think all of those probably could have been prevented.
Yeah.
Now again, like I said, the core tenet of everyone's argument is safety. But what does that safety look like?
Right.
What does that safety look like?
Who's being protected?
Exactly. Who are we protecting and how are we protecting them? Because everyone talks that point of safety. What does that safety look like? How are we exhibiting that safety? Again, it'd be a different story if the same numbers that I listed off at the beginning of the episode were in a war zone.
Mm-hmm.
But these are from a civilian setting where the worst thing that should happen to you is possibly tripping and falling.
Yeah.
Right.
Tripping and falling and scraping your knee at recess.
A fist fight.
Or a fist fight. But for you to be going off to school to learn, to an environment to learn,
mm-hmm.
An environment that is supposed to feed into you and help cultivate you being a fully functional adult, you got to worry about losing your life.
Yeah.
I mean, that is absurd to me, exceedingly absurd to me. And I mean, the thing about it, though, is like I said before, just saying we have to do better. There's got to be some actions behind all of this.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be intentionality behind all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to happen now. It can't wait for another week or for another year. And it can't just continue to be talking points.
Yeah.
There has to be some action that is occurring, because talking and having ideas without any action behind it doesn't get anywhere.
Right.
Actually executing on improving safety, actually executing on, having certain services. I mean, and that's one thing I can say about the city that we live in. They actually do have counseling services. Like, outside of a guidance counselor, you have mental health services in the actual school. Right. There should be more of that. Not even just that, but also that go out with the police. That should be a wrapped in, tied in service that is implemented in the police setting, in any emergent care setting where they're providing emergency services. Because what a lot of people don't understand is anything that is jarring or shocking that you don't experience every day, it can traumatize you.
Right.
Yeah. Anything.
So in an emergency room, there should be a therapist to be able to come in and talk to people who witnessed a shooting, or someone had a stroke and then now you're having to provide CPR in order to save their life. That's traumatizing to somebody who's never seen it before.
Into an addict.
Right. Exactly. That's traumatizing if you've never experienced it. So
a dead family member. All those different
all of those things are traumatizing, and that is where, for us as therapists, that is something that I cannot press upon enough. When we talk about, things like defunding the police, instead of defunding the police, fund programs such as incorporating therapy and counseling into these other services.
Crisis
intervention. Yep. Because again, what the problem that I see for us in society nowadays is we are too reactive instead of proactive. We wait for things to happen.
That's America's line. We just knee jerk it.
We wait for things to happen and then address it once it becomes a problem. But like you said earlier, the time to drill for a fire is not when the house is on fire. It's you put the practice in and you prepare and you coordinate all the services ahead of time. So when it pops off, guess what? There's somebody that can slide in place and execute on the plan. Mm-hmm. But that to me, that is the crux of what needs to occur. Is we have to stop being reactive and be more proactive.
I think another layer of that goes in conjunction with what you're saying is we need to go back to having the hard conversations with people. And we talked about it on our podcast before. When you see something, say something, but you have to go under the surface layer to get to know people.
Mm-hmm.
If you see that Jim always has Dunkin' Donuts and one day he does not come into work with Dunkin' Donuts, hey, yo, Jim, what's good? You all right? I noticed you ain't had your coffee cup today. You all right, big fella?
Mm-hmm.
When your kid, who is usually bubbly, who usually dresses a certain way, who usually conducts business with you a certain way, when they stop, hey, something's up.
Right.
I've had to talk to you. I told my kid one time, I said, bro, you've been in trouble every day this week. What's going on? No, mommy. I sat her down as a therapist. I was like, look, we just gonna have a little session. Something is happening. I told my husband something's going on with it. No, she's just being rebellious. I said, no. This is not 9-year-old rebellion. There are other things that are in the background that are influencing her decisions. We sat down, she and I talked for about an hour. And the things that she was saying to me, she at the end of the conversation, I can't disclose it because I told her I wouldn't, but I told her, she said, Mommy, I feel like I just feel lighter now that have got it out. I was walking around with these feelings and she said, I wasn't trying to act on them, but they were just there going and going and going. And it got harder to just be obedient because I'm thinking of other things. And I said, wow, if this is how a 9-year-old feels,
right.
Imagine a middle schooler who has the pressure of someone else. Imagine a high schooler who has actual responsibility, because you start getting responsibility when you're in high school. Imagine a college student. Imagine the working mom, the working dad, the single adult who's just trying to navigate through life with the pressures of their family. It gets tough. But what makes it lighter is having those hard conversations,
right.
Reaching out to people and saying, look, I know you're going through a difficult time. You can call me for anything. I don't have to have the answers for it. I'm here to listen, though.
Yeah.
I'm here to hold your hand. You're going through the divorce? Call me. Don't go slash this tires. Call me.
Well,
but see what
people think people are looking for an answer, or they're looking for an immediate solution, or they're looking for someone to give them suggestions. A lot of times people just want a listening ear. You don't always have to. I don't know everything. And sometimes I just listen to my patients, my clients. I just listen. That's what they want.
But see, what you guys are both speaking to is what I was saying earlier about valuing another human being. Stop making everything about you and making other people first. Making other people the priority. Because when you make other people the priority, you do things like that. You
are enriched.
Yeah, exactly. You literally, as Unique pointed out about the donuts, you notice things like that when you're paying it, when you make things about other people. When you make things about other people, like you said, Khalil, you just sit down and you just take in what other people are saying, or you can take in what they're doing without them even having to say anything. You start to notice things about them. I notice you're off. I notice that you're not the same you. Let's sit down and have a conversation. But again, we have gotten to the point where we don't value each other enough to do those things, to go the extra mile, and to actually be invested in somebody outside of them doing something for me. And when I feel like that is where society is just kind of going downhill, because we are predicated on a thought process of selfishness instead of selflessness. And so until we get back to that, we're going to continue to see violent things happen to people. We're going to continue to see people go to jail, or, just these tragedies keep happening it seems like almost every day. Because when I actually looked at the numbers, it looks like there's a shooting almost every day. At some form of school, there's some sort, literally 8 school shootings. I think it was 8 in just this month alone. Just in the month of March, there's been 8 school shootings. And that's ridiculous. One school shooting is too many, especially when, like I said before, you are not there for that. You're there to learn. You're there to have your life enriched. You're there to be exposed to new ideas and new people and new thoughts, schools of thought, not to have to worry about ducking and dodging bullets.
Right. How are you supposed to think when I'm thinking about ducking and dodging?
How can I focus on what I'm supposed to be there to do when I'm having to worry about, am I going to be able to make it home? And as a parent, to send your kid off to school knowing that they're
every day.
Exactly. You're potentially marching them off to a war zone every single day. You're watching them get on the bus, or you're dropping them off, knowing that there may be a possibility your kid may not make it back home.
And I want to say that this is not a new phenomenon.
No, it's not.
Camille and I, we grew up on the East Coast, and I remember having friends who would take weapons to school. This is before gun violence, like shootings in school were not huge, but you knew kids. When you got to like middle of high school, they carried knives. And I asked one of my friends, I was like, "Why do you carry a knife?" She was just like, "Because if I get in a fight, I gotta make it home."
Right.
She said, I've seen kids get stabbed up at school. And I don't want that to be me. And I was homeschooled at the time. So I was like, that sucks. And it scared me. I said, I would never want to go to school here. If this is what you got to do to make it home. This is before the era of clear backpacks and stuff like that. Or just like it wasn't mandatory for every school to have it, but kids had weapons on them.
Right. Well, see, back in the day, it's a little different now. But on the East Coast, we don't really. There's gangs there, but it's usually neighborhoods. So we would always have neighborhood interactions. Sometimes you can go to the same high school, but certain neighborhoods just don't get along. And then you are going to see each other on the way home. And guess what? You better have something on you because now, hey, look, you might take a butt whooping one day, but the next day, a lot of people going to be prepared. And it might end up in a shootout. They do it often.
Shootout, a stab out, getting cut with a bottle.
It happens
and
often.
So it was, of course, it led my decision making for the schooling that my kid went to, the places I decided to live. And I wish I could just wrap her in a bubble, and one of those big, giant, fluffy boats that roll down the hill. I wish I could send her in like a bulletproof bubble. But the kid that I have, she like her mama, she stick her head out of her bubble. Hey, what's up? Right. Like, I put you in that bubble for a reason. Why is the bubble door open? Mommy, they wanted to play. I wanted them to come and see what my bubble looked like in the inside. I wish I could, but I know that I can't. The best thing I can do is teach, inform, and provide an environment where my kid has that this is her safety zone. The world is not nice. People have all type of intentions that do not have you in mind, your safety in mind, your well-being in mind. And so you have to operate in a space that says, even when when people do not care for me, it is my duty and responsibility to care for others.
For sure.
When you see somebody being mistreated, you step in and advocate for them. When you are seeing that somebody is down, be the person who says, "Hey, are you okay?" Right. Don't contribute to their angst or their sorrow. Daggone sure don't be the cause of it if you can help it.
Yeah.
Don't agitate. But I think that's the thing, like Rajmal, you hit the nail on the head, and the care for other people. But it starts at this age. If people wait until they're in our age, 30s, 40s,
you are who you are. I mean, heck, even once you get to like, your late teens, it's already too late. I mean, at that point, the person is who they are. And short of God speaking to them or a life-altering event, a near-death experience, they are set they're set into who they're going to be. And so, like you said, it's imperative that the lessons start when they're young.
Yeah. And
you're constantly pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring into your child and into any children you come in contact with. It doesn't even have to be your kid, because again, you taking the time out of your day to pour into one of the neighborhood kids. Guess what?
You never know the impact.
You never know the impact. You never know where that will help steer them.
Just know they have somebody can come and talk to. Because I think just we talked about it. Like, it's very rare to see a sociopath. They're not just free and willing and able walking around. That I think there are some people on this planet who their minds are just a dangerous mind. But even that person, there was once a time when someone could have reached out and said, to talk to that trauma. Because usually, I mean, let's just call it what it is. Most sociopaths, they become that because of trauma, unresolved trauma. And so imagine if somebody at school has said, "Hey, I noticed this. Are you okay? Or just saying good morning. It's good to see you today.
Mm-hmm.
What's your day like? What are you thinking? What do you like? What do you value? Those conversations make the difference. Saying, I'm sorry. I apologize. I was wrong. Those things make the difference. Those behaviors really settle into the adult mind that says, I'm valued. Somebody said sorry to me. Somebody thought well enough for me to say good morning. I miss you. I love you. I care about you. I tell kids that ain't my kid. I love you. It's good to see you. I'm happy you're here. And they come up and hug me and people say, why do you kids hug you?
Well, somebody else values
Because I
me.
care.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else values me. Someone else will miss me if I'm not
Yeah.
here.
Your hair looks nice.
Right.
Yep.
I see kids, you look amazing today. It's the same shirt I done seen 12 times because my kid wears a uniform. But today it's buttoned up a little differently. That tie is sitting right in the middle. You look great.
Right.
Man, you look good. Those shoes are shining today. And those are the things that I'm hoping when that kid becomes an adult. It wasn't just their mama who said that she appreciated them.
Mm-hmm.
Or their dad, or I have a community of people who value, who care about me. Because sometimes you might not get it all at home. And this is for the listener. You may not, because parents in their best intentions may not be everything that you needed.
Right.
Yeah.
They may not be, but God in his goodness and mercy provides somebody else. If you don't have it now, seek out for it. Seek out for a community that's going to love, affirm, wrap their arms around you, whether it's a church, a hobby group,
mentor,
gaming center, whatever. Get in a quilting club if you got to.
Mm-hmm.
If you could talk about your day at that quilting club, go to it. Right? Find you some people that are going to love on you, that are going to affirm the goodness in you and cast out anything that's harmful, not just to everybody else, that's harmful to you.
Right.
You're worth it, and our communities would be so much stronger with just those simple gestures of care.
Okay, so we're going to end the conversation there. This is Try Not to Overthink It, signing out. I'm RJ.
I'm Unique.
And I'm Khalil.
And we will catch you in the next episode. If you like what you heard or like what you saw, we can be found on YouTube as Try Not to Overthink It. We drop content every week, so please like, share, subscribe, and turn your notifications on because, again, we drop content every week. If you would prefer to listen to the episode instead of watch it,
Don't do
that. Because you miss out if you miss out and not watching it because you miss out on the antics and you miss out on all these faces. But if you prefer to listen to the episode, we can be found on Audible, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, pretty much everywhere that you can find an audio file, we can be listened to. So again, just try not to overthink it, signing out, and we will catch you in the next episode.